Hey everyone, welcome back to my workbench. I'm working on this Amstrad Mega Drive card. So, turns out on this board you gotta do this kind of slightly cockeyed jump between R97 and one lead from R47, which is actually a through-hole component from the other board. This guy right here, kind of going on diagonal there. So let's see if I can do that. I switched tips on the iron into something quite small. No fine one there. That was weird. The iron timed out. That's strange. It's hot. Okay, let's try that again. Let's solder. Through-hole. Let's go a little hotter. Let's bump up to 315. All right. See if we can get that little part in there. It's one of the stranger additions I've done. Then after this cap, all I gotta do is flip it over and install the two new amplifiers. I am not liking this tip. I'm gonna pause this a minute, wait for my iron to cool down, and then I'll swap tips. I'm not getting good heat on it. So sometimes you get a wonky tip. I'll jump back in a minute. Okay, so I was able to get that 4.7 microfarad cap on. What is this guy over here? Let's see. That weird little bridged one we have there. So it actually looks better in 3D than it does on the video, but got that on. So all I got left is the two op amps. And what's this here? Let's see. U22 and U5, which I already pulled out. And go through and clean up some of these. I want to get them pretty flat. When I put the IC on there, I want it to sit pretty flush. I'm not doing a true reflow, but my own hand rework attempt at it. Clean these up. So, you really want to make sure you're wearing a ESD strap when you're doing this. These are naked. So it did not get moist, which is good. This is a one-time bag. Desiccant. Toss that. Alright, so here's the actual ICs are in this little packaging here. I bought one extra in case the worst happens. So what we'll do now is I'll put some small piece of this pressure sensitive adhesive down under both. Pretty small chips. And whenever you cut paper or plastic, you always want to be wearing the static strap, because what happens is you're generating a static charge every time you manipulate a piece of paper. So you don't want to keep that charge on you. Luckily this whole mat is grounded, so it's not too big of a deal. But I like to make sure. How wide are these? Even there with that. Little things. I'm using really a high-tech device here called a pair of scissors to cut this. It's like a really thin double-sided tape. It's quite clear too, so even if you leave it exposed, you'll never really notice it. Well, it's just going to be there to hold the chip in place, kind of like when a pick and place machine drops a part on there, so it doesn't go wandering off. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to actually leave the adhesive on the surface. That one. Okay. So it's going to be a little hard to see. There you can see it. That's that strip there. That's just that's the pressure sensitive adhesive. So I'll put the ICs in place. So the dot on both of them is facing me. That's the little dot you'll see is the number 1 pin on the chip, which is more or less the upper left corner of a chip. So you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You come down and move your way back up the airway. That adhesives with sticky stuff. Thankfully, because I don't want this wandering away. Okay. Still a little cockeyed. Okay. Where my tweezers go? There. Just moving it around, jostle a little bit. The problem with ESD, if you do have an issue, it'll cause what's called a latent failure, not a, it won't kill the part immediately. That looks pretty straight. Pretty decent. It won't cause an immediate failure, it will cause what they call a latent failure. So a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, it'll show up. It won't show up right away. And that's the danger of ESD. It stresses a component and you won't even know it for years. We got heat on one of the legs, one of the pads, so I can tack this down and I can reflow the rest. And again, you don't want your iron turned up terribly high heat-wise. You don't want to damage these components. You want minimum heat transfer. Having a heck of a time tonight. Okay, so it turns out I have a much easier time soldering when no one's watching. So I went through and I placed 2 ICs down. Here's one of them I placed, and then the other one is right there. So I don't know if I like that one joint there. Let's see. Good enough. So that actually finishes it up on the repair on this board, the mod work on this board. So it was 2 op amps, 2 op amps, 1, 2, 3, 6 capacitors, and 2 resistors, and then removing 4 caps in total. So it was a fair amount of work, but hopefully this gives my friend some little better audio quality. I'm sure it was fine to begin with, but you can never have too good. So I am going to be doing a wrap-up video on this one, just to explain a little bit of the history behind it and what it is. I only skimmed about it earlier. I actually need to do a little research myself because I've never really played much with one of these. And I'll grab my Sega Genesis cartridge too and plug it in. And speaking of that, I did get a bunch of parts in the day. I got in the parts for that Jaguar I showed about 4 or 5 days ago. That wasn't turning on, so I got in the new IC, the boost buck converter they have on there, and the whole cap set for it. So that's good. And I got the cap set for the CD-ROM that came with it. And I also got in a Sega Nomad I'm going to be working on. But I process my orders first in, first out. So this board is done more or less. I'll do a video on it later. And I also got the capacitors in today for the Sound Blaster board. And that probably be doing that tonight if my hands aren't too tired. I was doing some trimming some hedges on the outside of my house, so my arms are actually tired. So I'll be doing, hopefully do that at Sound Blaster. I did get the potentiometers in, but they're just too big for that Sound Blaster board, so I'm just going to clean up the pot with some deoxit, see if that helps clean it up, and then just do a complete cap replacement on it. And then the last thing for that patron is going to be replacing just the DB15 on a PC, but I'll have that on my Workbench probably tomorrow. Well, 3 of those for one customer patron, and that'll be done tomorrow. And then hopefully Sunday, I'm gonna do a quick checkout on the Nomad. And the Nomad, I'll just I'll see what it is. He purchased it off eBay and had sent directly to my house, so I gotta check that one out. It came in, looks in decent shape externally. It came with a 1 rechargeable pack and 1 regular battery pack. So I'm gonna be getting that, upgrading it, put a new screen in it. But I'm gonna check that out and start planning out where I'm gonna cut holes. But in the meantime, the Jaguar repair comes first because that's that order came in first. So I like being fair. I don't like leapfrogging unless somebody says, hey, go ahead and pass me up and do one and come back. I've had that before. But for now, yeah, that's the order I'm going to go in. And should be interesting. It's going to be interesting getting that Jaguar up and running. I'm really looking forward to actually firing it up. That one's neat. I'm also going to be putting a HDMI port on there as well. So that's kind of cool. I got a nice S-video to HDMI converter. And I'll see if I can find a spot to put that internally, so I'll just have an HDMI port in the back of it. That should be pretty cool. Coming up, and I actually get to try a Atari Jaguar. I've never done that before. I have plenty of Jaguar controllers because I use them and I modify them to convert them to 5200 controllers, but I've never actually played the Jaguar. So that's coming up. I'm not sure how fast I'll get them all done, but yeah, at least get probably the Sound Blaster done tomorrow, and hopefully that PC done Sunday. So thanks for watching.